North Dakota State is reportedly moving to the Mountain West, and ESPN does not want that to happen. A move like this could bolster the group of six, helping college football become decentralized and more competitive between the Power Four and the group of six. Now, are they going to do this all by themselves? No. But it's a type of move that, if it works, it would foil ESPN's push for a Power Four elite club, removing the G6 from everybody else. Some people saw this potential move on Friday and thought it was just another, realignment shuffle, but it could be so much more than that. If this works out for the group of six, it could be a seismic shift that threatens ESPN's vision of a streamlined, high-revenue Super League that some of you may want, you may not want. I don't know. I'm not saying what I do and don't want, but it's definitely a possibility. So recently, ESPN personalities like Kirk Herbstreit have been pounding the drum for Power Four conferences, the Big Ten, the SEC, the Big 12, and the ACC, to break away from the group of six when it comes to the college football playoffs. Herbstreit laid out an entire plan, in a recent interview. College football needs a commissioner, collective bargaining, and a Power Four split to form their own league type playoff type of deal. It was a little confusing, but he compared it to the NFL, arguing that without this, the sport is spinning its wheels with fragmented agendas. But why? Because a unified Power Four would dominate the playoffs, rake in massive TV deals, and pave the way for an even tighter Super League between the Big Ten and the SEC, which is ultimately what ESPN wants, because they're seeing the success that a smaller league like the NFL has and says, we need to replicate that, and they want that. So once the P4 ditches the G6, the Big Ten and the SEC could easily, pull off, peel away from the ACC and the Big 12, creating a type of juggernaut that controls everything from schedules to revenue shares. They already control a lot, but they still kind of have to play ball with everybody else. And before you tell me ESPN doesn't want this, go back and see how ESPN operates. Go ahead. During the YouTube TV blackout, they assembled the troops against YouTube TV, trying to paint them as the issue, saying, oh, look at us. We're just a victim. Big, bad YouTube TV. And while it worked on some, many saw right through ESPN's lies and exposed the network for their dishonesty. But the G6 sees this happening. But the G6 sees this happening, and they are ready to try and make a power move with a team like North Dakota State, the FCS Dynasty, with 10 national titles since 2011. Now, in deep talks to get to the Mountain West, there was reported today that they are going to be there, I think, starting in 2026. What I saw, CBS reported this, Yahoo Sports reported the confirmed negotiations and everything, and how it's advancing, with North Dakota State eyeing the FBS leap, trying to get through it, even through the hefty the fines and everything. Potentially 8 figures, I think, is how much they're going to spend overall. North Dakota State's athletic director, Matt Larson, has been vocal, saying their interest in FBS is, quote, as strong as it's ever been. But they want to play in the highest level, because not only does the group of 6 not want to be excluded from the FBS, but the FCS also doesn't want to be devalued as kind of like a pseudo Division II. A lot of people already see them as a Division II type of situation, and you add one more league on top of that, and that would hurt them even more. So if this all seals up and North Dakota State joins and revamps the Mountain West, that's already adding UTEP, Northern Illinois, Hawaii to try and offset losses like Boise State and Fresno State to the Pac-12. The league's new media deal with CBS, Fox, the CW, and Kiswe through 2031 and 2032 sweeten the pot, ensuring visibility and stability. But notice how ESPN is not involved here, because North Dakota State's ascension it could help fortify the G6, proving these conferences aren't just filler, but they're breeding grounds for real G6 playoff contenders. It's obviously not the end-all be-all, but Tulane, they're only, I think, plus 75,000 odds to win the national championship on FanDuel right now. That doesn't inspire a whole lot of confidence, so they have to try and create it with teams coming up. But if you look at the track record of FCS to FBS transitions, it makes sense to try and do that with teams who are down in the FCS. You've even seen discussions of South Dakota State, Illinois State, teams that could also try and come up as well. I mean, you look at the track record. Appalachian State, they jumped in 2014 and immediately racked up 10-win seasons. They had that iconic win over Michigan in 2007. And they were still an FCS team at that point. They jumped 7 years later. Georgia Southern followed suit, grabbing bowl wins and a conference title. James Madison obviously just made the playoffs. They hit the FBS in 2022, was bowl eligible right away with high win. Well, bowl, they won games to be bowl eligible. They didn't go to a bowl. Coastal Carolina became a Sun Belt powerhouse with multiple 10-win seasons. Even Marshall, as an early mover, snagged championships when they made the move as well. So these programs weren't just able to hold their own in the FBS. They brought winning cultures, explosive offenses, and rabid fans. And you also see some of these FCS teams put players in the FBS that can come in and play right away, and it impacts things. North Dakota State, with a 9-5 record against FBS teams, including Power 5 teams, fits the mold perfectly. This isn't just about surviving. This isn't about them just trying to make ends meet. It's about making a name for themselves, since many don't even realize they are often outpacing established FBS programs. This directly counters ESPN's agenda by keeping the G6 relevant, delaying or derailing the P4 breakaway. I think if you looked at SP Plus last year, they were even inside the top 70. There were Big Ten teams that weren't even inside the top 70 of SP Plus. So the G6 sees the move of North Dakota State as another way to try and avoid becoming the next FCS. Sideline, underfunded, irrelevant. By poaching FCS powerhouses, the G6 is trying to inject fresh talent and competitiveness so they are not viewed as, the junior varsity. If they want to do this, they need to consistently produce bowl-eligible teams, number one, and playoff contenders. But ESPN doesn't want to spread out chaos. Their ideal situation is a Power 4 monopoly that optimizes TV inventory. Herbstreit isn't alone. You look at, like I said, they're aligning the troops right now. Paul Feinbaum urged the G5, now the G6 schools to, quote, take a hike from the CFP, calling their games unwatchable blowouts. Booger McFarland admits no one thinks G6 teams can win it all, saying their inclusion rubs people the wrong way, according to him. Even Dan Orlovsky griped that spots for Tulane and James Madison in 2025 and 2026 were wasted, better suited for big brands like Texas and Notre Dame. And sure, if you want an NFL light type of model, yeah, but if you want college football, these other brands are a part of it that make it kind of what it is. So even as some like Scott Van Pelt defended the small guy for the regional representation, the network's heavy hitters lean toward exclusion. Are you noticing a pattern here? Those who tout the SEC above all else want the top to separate from the G6 because it's better for ESPN's bottom line. It's not hard to see. It's not hard to see what they're trying to do here. A separate G6 playoff would be ESPN's dream. It would be exactly what they want to come next in college football. It would be cheap production, filler content for ESPN Plus and their streaming stuff and everything, and premium slots reserved for P4 marquee matchups. It is slash cost for eliminating like mega casts for underdogs and boost ad rates by guaranteeing high viewer games. Plus, ESPN has to figure out what they're going to do after bowl games go away, as it certainly seems like those aren't going to last forever. I hate that. I want bowl games to stick around, but we've already seen multiple bowls like the LA Bowl just this past week say they're not going to have a bowl game anymore. The Gronk was involved in that and everything. Like, they're saying they're not going to be involved in bowl season anymore. So G6 leaders reject the playoff idea outright, calling it, the junior varsity, the JV demotion that absolutely would kill revenue for them, recruiting, and prestige. In 2026, a G6 team in the CFP nets $4 million just for showing up, plus their share of the $1.8 million annual distribution, far more than standalone tournaments could, a standalone tourney could offer them. Now, I know what you're thinking. JR, this is a Big Ten podcast. Why are you talking so much about, the G6 and the SEC and ESPN? That's a fair point. All right. Here's why. Believe it or not, this does tie straight to the Big Ten as the powerhouse conference, the conference in college football. The Big Ten stands to gain massively from a P4 split, aligning with the SEC to ultimately form a super league between the two. It would be really, really good for the Big Ten. And so you kind of have to ask the question here, Are you more for the Big Ten or are you more for college football overall? Like it or not, Commissioner Tony Petitti focuses on schools like Ohio State, Michigan, now USC, and Oregon. A breakaway lets them dominate the playoffs without G6 interference and possibly earn more money for the conference, hoarding 58% of college football playoff revenue, while G6 gets 9%. But North Dakota State's move is the G6 counterpunch, a direct response to stay in the fight. If the G6 proves competitive through FCS imports, imports they perceive the current 12 team or persevere the 12 team college football playoff where the highest ranked G6 team gets the auto bid. It's no longer the conference title, highest ranked conference title thing. I think that was just updated this last year. This upholds traditions like the Cinderella stories of Cincinnati in 2021, Boise State when they were able to beat Oklahoma in their bowl game, and integrates historical bowls like the Fiesta Bowl and Peach Bowl with diverse national matchups. These stories are great, but until a G6 team actually competes in the playoffs instead of just making it, all of this is useless. So the G6 needs something big to help their public perception. Maybe it's going to be Mr. Beast's possible investment in East Carolina could help them. $100 million at that point, who knows? Or if one of these FCS powerhouses can beat a mediocre SEC team, that could certainly change it all as well. FCS programs like North Dakota State see this as a ladder to the top. Success in the G6 could open doors to Power 4 invites, as seen with past movers. James Madison's quick rise to being able to get into the playoffs. If North Dakota State dominates the Mountain West, they become an acquisition target, further blurring the lines between tiers. This decentralization frustrates ESPN's streamlined vision, where P4 brands drive ratings and dollars. A spread out game means unpredictable upsets, broader appeal, but lower premium ad efficiency. ESPN's $1.3 billion college football playoff deal through 2031 and 2032 thrives on control. They want to control it. They want to get the big brands in it, get the TV dollars up, get the ad revenue up, and try to make that work. The G6 strength would completely erode that. Ultimately, if North Dakota State can't, if North Dakota State can win, it will expose the cracks in ESPN's blueprint. It would empower the underdogs, keep the playoffs inclusive, and stall the march of the Super League. The only problem is they actually need to win something. They actually need to go out there and win something not even the Big 12 has been able to do consistently in the college football playoffs. Outside of TCU beating Michigan, it's really not happened. So for the Big Ten, it could actually get us to a Big Ten SEC split more quickly if this doesn't work out for the G6. And the SEC is already going to try and tell people it can happen. As I've said before, the SEC speaks, the Big Ten moves. This is what they're going for right now in college football. And you can expect for all of this to continue for the rest of the offseason, this talk of, SEC splitting and everything like that. At this point, it's all up in the air, and fans are forced to decide what is more important than them. The history and tradition of over 100 FBS schools competing for championships, or an NFL light system that doesn't prioritize the history and tradition of college football and makes it more about what people can perceive who can win championships and only include them. If I'm being honest, I see it both ways. I see the need to reduce the pool to get into the playoffs, but I also see, I also don't want to lose what has made college football so special for me growing up and understanding the game and seeing it and seeing how it is different from college, from the NFL. Seeing G6 teams be the underdogs and defeat the best. I still remember watching the Statue of Liberty play that Boise State put on to beat Oklahoma. But those days are possibly behind us. Has the transfer portal and NIL not only killed the SEC's dominance, but also killed the opportunity for competitive balance between the P4 and the G6? I guess we'll have to find out as college football continues to move and change.